Good day, my fellow cultists, and welcome back. I shall skip the formalities and get straight down into business. We've got a lot of ground to cover, or destroy for this instance, within this episode. From the previous episode until now, some farming time was spent on the spirit towers to gather iron and boom boom juice. The sand was initially gathered through the canals that were dug to squidnap the villagers. And as we would see, I'll be having a blast with TNT. A huge portion of this land has to be removed with a combo of explosives and digging. And to minimize the usage of iron, I'll spend some extra time using stone tools. While we are on the topic of the base, let's discuss some of the features that will be made. The main entrance is linked with the port and there are 4 sentry towers which are to be built. Each tower facilitates 2 purposes. The first one is farming. Plots are gonna be stationed on the top, and the second role is an observation or defensive role which they'll play. The farms are equipped and linked with hoppers for efficiency and logistics. On top of that, the roof should have a courtyard for that castle feel, because no fort is complete without a courtyard. Into the interior of the base, there will be staircases to the top, while another set of flights will take us to the mines down beneath. Then there is an area which will house the captive cattle for leather and wool. Those should be honored in another video. And finally, there is an area for the gate to the underworld, which will be embedded into the style of the structure itself. I should also add to that, the portal area will be bearing some secrets too. Would I reveal them though? Nah, you guys can wait, can't ya? While beginning construction of the entrance of the keep, note that the spruce wood I use gives off a more rustic look to the building, while it also merges pretty well with a beat up and often used pier. I get it that cobblestone is considered very primitive and some people don't like it much. But in my palettes, cobble gives off that ancient vibrance an old fort should have. Aside from that, since this is ironically my starter's base, this stone should be a staple of it as it is immensely abundant. Alrighty, now let's discuss some of the other material within this palette. If this build was just made with a single stone type like cobblestone, it would be boring, duh. So andesite, diorite and other stone products are used. The base form and the polished version of andesite are used for the walls because the color meshes well with these stone bricks. As for the floor, a combination of andesite stairs along with polished diorite and smooth stone are put to create the patterns we would see. Also, there will be other blocks used in there, yet it requires me to descend into the underworld, so that would be out of the scope for now. One thing that could be worthy of bringing up is that I should justify why this video was a little bit delayed to upload. Well, I'm not a huge fan of displaying an act on the screen to upload videos rapidly. Instead, I lean towards having that legitimacy in recording. While it is so obvious that this structure requires huge amounts of material, specifically andesite, I've spent about a couple of days this week just mining and gathering it. So it is safe to say that everything has pros and cons. The downside for this method is the fact that it is so time consuming to pull off, and to add up to the patience, it is not so recording friendly, which might put a hold on content production. However, in the end, it is well worth it because that satisfactory sense of accomplishment is something I intend on sharing with you guys all the time. So yeah, got to do things the old-fashioned way while pretending the commands and creative mode doesn't exist. For a bit of change, there's a topic regarding the channel I wanted to discuss, and no, we've already covered that we should bring in more cultists like this is the medieval ages and every superstitious person is obsessed with the concept of black magic. We've been over it. Instead, I have a cunning plan for a comedic performance. It revolves around the idea of having old versus new. You know, some old Minecraft players versus some new ones, but rather than making fun of the persons in the subject, we take their acts and compare it with a bit of a boomer narrative. It could make sense if there was a video made out of it, but it could result in something cool. But hey, the idea and theories, they need to be tested to become reliable. On the other hand, from the last video, one certain Mr. Tedaveda Esquire left me a generous comment. I highly appreciated his input since I was looking for some excuses to work on streaming capabilities. While it is not out of the image to conduct such things, I was struck by a better idea. What if? We could be host to Mr. Taylor to wager with a labor to propose a danger, for a theater to have joy and laugh with the sight of wafer. In less poetic terms, could there be a possibility for collaboration with Mr. Taylor? I guess we have to wait and see it for ourselves, but to me the magic of the journey is more enjoyable to be worth the pain. Marching 6th into the next topic. Get it? Because we already used March 4th and March 5th would only get us a small toaster. Yeah, I suppose I need to cut back on the March jokes. Like so 4th month ago, totally. But anyways, it is agreeable that some expositions into the storytelling segments are due, so let's get around that. What is it all about, you ask? Well, let me explain. We have me, a supposed mistress of the dark arts, which we would venture off into the realm, facing scenarios of drama, comedy, tragedy, and prosperous situations. Yet, there is still an aurora of mystery surrounding everything. And, for a surprise, I intend on showcasing one of those mystical powers here. You see, I possess a spell which, if performed correctly, could alter the physical realm by creating a temporal disturbance within the very essence of matter and shout supremacy down to the heart of time itself. Enough with the drama talks for now, we have to cover some more into the state of the castle. We could see that there are progresses on the floor with bird poop blocks, and this choice is subjective, because Diorite's vanilla texture is a bit questionable at best, and it is considered very ugly. When I was testing with different blocks though, this one was pretty relevant, and it added to the rustic feel when used in conjunction with the smooth stone. I never get to show what happens during the nights in my survival run, and for that I have to thank OBS for giving me some of the worst quality in recording because of the pure amount of lag I face. But this time it was generous enough to give me the least amount of stop motion imagery to portray some of the hassles I endured during Nightfall. As for why I don't take the easy route and sleep it off, I'll have to blame it on the Iron Spirit Tower. You see, I require hoppers, and I mean a lot of hoppers for the crop farms. And since the zombie method only works during the nights, I cannot chicken out and go to sleep. So I have to divide my effort into two proportions, one for construction and mining, and another one to fend off the wandering souls. That's right, you heard me. The new name for enemy mobs is Wandering Souls. And we have many categories of them. We have the regular arthropod menaces being the spiders, they are unchanged. Risen Bones as the skellies, Corpus Era for the zombies, and Hatred Incarnate for creepers. The last one should be very self-explanatory because why would any kind of creature just yeet themselves into certain death if they are not driven by hatred towards others? Another night reaches its end. At dawn's first light, the last of the Risen Bones were defeated, giving me the opportunity to travel to the isolated spirit tower to farm the essence of the hatred incarnate. I was told that trinitrotoluene is an addictive substance. I have to accompany this by saying disregard this statement, as I won't be holding any kind of accountability if you try to snort TNT. That would be very dangerous and stupid. This time around I was unsure where to source the sand. Then I thought to myself, maybe by digging through the canal to the east village, I can hit two birds with one stone. Since this would accomplish the sand requirement, wow, it would give me the potential to create a much more pleasant route for when I need to head east. Also, maybe in the next episodes, there would be a possibility to overhaul that village into something more interesting. Hopefully this would be the last stack of explosives I gather for now, since half of the fortress foundation is laid and only a huge other half remains. By the power of bang bang bangs, we would clear the rest of the unneeded landscape to prepare for the ceremony. For the canal design, I have an idea to make a small fishing village and have a couple of towers here and there on each side. But there is a problem here. I can get carried away fairly quickly, because currently for the lore and telltales there are two cities. I already plan on working on them as soon as I can, and I require your input on this matter, my fellow cultists, because is there something as too many villages, or you guys are totally into that stuff? Because here's the thing, I came up with a handful of designs in my test world, and some of them required a hefty amount of landscaping, while others could be done with less terraforming and more effort towards the village design itself. But nevertheless, both could be arranged, right? Because I like having to come up with excuses to build more stuff. Aside from that, maybe I can make a promise here. If this video reaches 1,000 views, or better yet, the cult gains 1,000 subscribers, I'll start working simultaneously on one of the villages we discussed along with the current project. While we are on the topic of molding and shaping the land to our heart's content, the current project will require massive terraforming into it. Currently, some slight modifications were done aside from the excavation services so far. Still, I need to build the main spirit tower to get even more Call of Duty MLG standard issue gobbledygook rage quit material because I've done some engineering and turns out we would need TNT on a Voodoo Shorts paradox level. The watered down version of this confusion would simply be a huge ton of boom boom. Since the end is nigh, I wanted to take this time to thank you for watching and bearing with me so far. It has been a very talkative journey and I had fun along the way. This video was a little bit hard for me to compile because of the sheer amount of willpower put into making it possible, with no help nor assistance. If you enjoyed it as much as I did, make sure to support the effort. It will mean a lot to me. Stand by because I will resume with a first-hand tour of the fortress's interior. And finally, the part we are all waiting for, the incantation.